And we're joined by Mr. Troy Redfern. How you doing, Troy, dude?
Not so bad, man. Good to speak to you again.
Always good to speak to you, mate. Always good to speak to you. Last time we spoke, of course, you were in the midst of recording your then untitled album. That album, now ready to roll, titled The Fire Cosmic, and is released on August 6th. When we air this interview on Friday, you will have released your first single from the album, Waiting for Your Love. You've been kind enough to send me the single ahead of us talking, mate. And I was excited before knowing what you like, seeing how excited you were about the process of recording the album. So I was excited to hear what was going to come from you. And having heard that first single, man, I'm even more excited to hear the rest of this, dude. It's absolutely storming, really is.
Oh, nice one. I'm gonna. I've been sitting on it for a while, obviously sort of when I'm waiting for sort of things to move along for it to come out, and I've been really because everyone says this thing, when they're putting an album out, this is the best thing I've done. It's the usual selling point, everyone's trying to sell a new album, so this, and it's the best thing I've done. But this actually is the best thing I've done, and I think you all know what I'm talking about. If you listen to my old stuff, the production and the kind of just the songs, I think are tighter on this album, but the production sort of like seals it, for me.
Yeah.
And it's the first thing I've done.
Real bollocks to it, The production's got some real bollocks.
Yeah, the drum, stands for like, and it's the drum, having Darby Todd on drums, you know what I mean? So like that as a foundation, there's a saying, you're only as good as your drummer, and that's true. If you've got someone who's solid as Darby, like he's just a monster, and everything's sort of built on that, so you've got this solid drum sort of sound, and when the producer guy was sort of like so chuffed to capture his kit there and then produce it, he's just so, and Darby heard it, I said Darby the album, and Darby records all over the place. Like he works for, have you heard of Tune Track, the people who make the drum sort of samplers and stuff like that, with Mattis Eklund over there. He works with those guys, so he records all over the world. And when he heard the mixes of his drums, he was so blown away. He loved it.
Yeah.
And that was good to have Darby and Dave, sort of on side really, because they put their work in, and it's nice for them to sort of like the end result of it. And I'm really pleased with it, and especially with that one, because that song sort of like, it's still blues, but it's definitely rock. It's still got the blues of the but the production's definitely not a blues production. It's like a rock production, as you
When I heard it, man, I was just like that. I mean, I've said to you before, and I'm not saying this because I'm talking to you now, because I've said it before and I've said it to other people as well, but I genuinely think you're one of the best slide players I've heard, right? And that slide guitar fucking sings on this one, man. I love it. As soon as that kicked in, I was like, this is Troy Redfern on, like, to paraphrase Spinal Tap up to 11, Yeah, this is awesome.
Well, it was cool to sort of get that, I've got it here, the old resonator, because that's sort of on the album. I managed to get that in the album and make it sound, well, Paul Wynn, the producer, sort of, sculpted, everything together. But to get that big sound out of a resonator, and so I was really chuffed with that, and I'm pleased with the solos, especially on that one, are quite succinct. They're short, they're kind of tight solos, so it's not like this long sort of epic solo, I've tried to keep that sort of in check on this. Say again?
Just solos that pack a punch.
Yeah, just something that's short and sort of like, to the point, and it to be more about the song with that one, and just like because it's only about 3 minutes 33, I think. It's quite a short sort of like, it's like a single sort of length song. But no, I'm really glad you like it, man, because I've sort of chatted to you a lot, and we've spoken a lot online and whatnot, and so no, I'm super chuffy like it.
Do you think it's a good indication of the rest of the album to come? Then is it all that sort of more balls heavy kind of bluesier style than some people might have got from your previous albums?
Yeah, definitely. But I would say that one's the center. Say you got sort of like light stuff on this side, you got heavy stuff over here. That's the sort of middle ground, that one. So there's things that are heavier than that, and there's a couple of tracks that are lighter than that. There's some, the track that Bumblefoot's on Fire is probably the heaviest one, and that's not really a blues track at all. That's when you hear it, you know what I'm on about. And then there's one acoustic song on there, which is sort of laid up with sort of different sort of acoustics. It's like a Mason acoustic, and then that old resonator, and then sort of like stacked vocals and stuff. So there's one of those. and there's a track called Stone at the end, which starts off kind of acoustic, goes into sort of sort of a heavy, and that's the one that's got a kind of long solo, and it kind of finishes on piano, because Dave Marks, the bass player, is also sort of like, he's all rounder, he can play kind of anything, but he plays piano, and they got the piano that Bohemian Rhapsody was played on in the studio. So I thought,
at Rockfield, didn't you?
Yeah. So there was no intention to have piano, but I saw it there and I said, man, is there any way we can sort of do something and have a fade out to piano and use that piano? So Dave sat there with it for like half an hour, and we recorded it, multi-mic the piano, and so the album finishes on that piano, which I was so chuffed to get that in there.
That's amazing.
And obviously, and having Dave, that's again having sort of players like that they're just on it. They're just sort of such great, great players, and that's what I've learned about this album. Really, everything else is done by myself, but this time I've had a team of people, and that's what that's what you need to make. You can do stuff by yourself, but it's nice to have input from other people and other people's talent, like it's a rhythm section, and having Paul as a producer. Yeah. Having someone else's ears on it, because Paul, I don't know if you know Paul Winstanley, he sort of produces the music he generally does it's a lot heavier than what I would do, but when I sent him my demos, he kind of got all the aspects. He said, "Oh, that one, the vocals sound a bit Alice in Chains with the harmony, and that sounds rockabilly." And so he knew what I was angling at, what my kind of ideas were. He got it, but then when he was mixing it, he just beefed it up. It was just it was a bit weird, because he sent me the album, because I tracked it and it was all sort of done, and I sent us a few bits of backwards and forwards, online as well. But I didn't hear anything. I'd obviously been in the room when we recorded it, but that's going to sound nothing like the finished product, And he sent me the mixes, and I was like, whoa, this is a lot different to what I was expecting. It was because it's his vision of that music. He's kind of mixed it. But yeah, I was blown away. I couldn't have been happier with it.
That's amazing, man. Did you manage to record it with Dave and Darby as like in the room as it should be as such, or were you having to phone it in?
No, we recorded the rhythm sections, the guitar, the main rhythm guitar, bass and drums all together. So we did the whole lot sort of like live, and then obviously I had to sort of like put in extra layers of guitars, which I did. After that, you can't do that.
No,
because I'm playing the main rhythm guitar, so you got to add things on. So yeah, and then obviously the vocals go on top, but the core band is, it was what I like about this. This is on a tangent slightly. I put a video up for Scorpio, and the reason I ended up doing that video is because I found a file of Darby playing. Like, he only did about 2 or 3 takes for each song. It was like unbelievably quick. He just got it. Like, he nailed them. He'd done his prep. He knew it before he got there. We had no rehearsals.
Wow.
We just went into the studio. It was crazy. Those guys just nailed it. And I found a video of Darby playing. We just set up a GoPro in the corner, and the take that I videoed was a take that was on the album. And what you can see, there's no drum fixes or anything. There's no, like, normally like a producer goes in and they chop up the drums.
Yeah.
They put triggers on the kick, so the kick sounds huge and all that stuff. And there's none of that. There's no fixing. There's no nothing. There's no sort of like making, putting samples on the drum kit to make them sound better. That is what it is. And that was what really, and that's why when Darby first heard it, he said to me, "Is he put triggers on it?" Meaning, like, as he put samples on the, and I was like, "No, man, there's nothing." That's, and he was like, "Jesus, that's really cool." So I'm really pleased that it is, like you asked, it is a live rhythm section. But like I said, when you got someone as solid, when you're playing with someone as solid as Darby, that was just a joy, to put those rhythm tracks down.
Yeah, I bet. To record those in just a couple of takes as well. That's,
man, really, he was making it. But he was playing like the whole. I booked a couple of days down there to do the rhythm sections, and he just he was knocking them out sort of. But he was performing. If on the video you can see he's like doing a gig. It's a visual thing, and he's kind of like absolutely hammering the hell out of them. And I think he was done. He left by midday on the second day. He was just like, he knocked it like 10 tracks out, and Yeah, and that was with with I'd probably say 2 or 3 takes. We'd sort of do a take just to warm into it. He'd say maybe we'd talk about some sections, about roles and stuff, or fills, or this section here and that, and then immediately be right next. We'd do the second take of it, and by second or third take on everything, it was just done. If not some of the couple of them the first take, it was because again, that was the important thing about rehearsal, and them doing their prep.
Yeah.
Because I've been into studios before, and people haven't done prep, and that's when it turns into a nightmare, because how well someone is, how much they rehearse is when you go into the studio, when you got the headphones on, the click track, and there's nothing, it's all very well sort of practicing, but when you're in the studio and there's the red lights on, that's when if someone knows it.
Oh yeah, that's when it shows up or not, doesn't
it? Yeah. But no, I can't say enough good things about them, man, because they made the album sort of the rhythm section, the foundation of everything is so super solid, and that's all the way through the album. That's what that's what sort of pins it all together, really, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Rockfield is known for its drum sounds from all the albums that have played over the year. I bet he was pretty much in his element, wasn't he, having to record in a place like that with somewhere so renowned for a drum sound?
That's exactly that, but like I said, because he's recorded everywhere, he's he plays over in the States loads, and he's done work with tons of people, and he's actually got the gig with Devin Townsend. He's playing with Devin and he's headlining Bloodstock with Devin this year.
He's playing with Devin at Bloodstock, man. Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, and that's a great gig, you know what I mean? Gigs don't get any better than that. That's kind of, for me, and when he told me he was doing it, I was like, Jesus, man, that's such a good gig. Yeah. So that just shows what, because Devin is just a monster, a writer, creative guy. He's just an all-round epic person, you know what I mean, as you probably know.
It seems with Devin, though, no matter what Devin decides he's going to do, he can do it. It doesn't matter what style. Like the first time I saw Devin was Download 2006, and it was strapping young lad were playing. And I hadn't seen him before, and this is before he cut all of his 4 dreadlocks off. And he came on, and he's looking like Bill Bailey with dreads. And like my mate's going, honestly, just watch him, okay? Because I'm still going, I'll be honest, I was to the 18 at the time. What am I about to watch?
What is it?
This is insane. Like, and then I was going, this is insane for another reason, because it's just like a full-on onslaught, full-on metal onslaught, and I'm like, this is amazing. Like, why haven't I heard of this guy before? And then I didn't hear, I mean, I heard Strapping Young Lad for a little while. And then when he came out, I think it was his Zincoid project, like a few years later. It was like a proper, almost Pink Floyd, Steven Wilson, there's full-on progressive thing. And my mate Dex, who's a huge Devin Townsend fan, because he knows I love Steven Wilson, he's like, you need to listen to this, man. I said, I've not listened to Devin in ages. What's he doing naked? And he's doing this. And then you're going from like full-on metal onslaught to this big kind of, floaty, atmospheric, full-on 70s prog tinge thing. And I was just like, this man's insane. He can do anything. So for Darby's well.
It's super complex. Like this stuff is so super complex. It's
it's not easy. Nothing right.
No, I bet Darby's got his work cut out with that. But it'd be interesting seeing it. But Darby, Darby's played with the Darkness and Paul Gilbert and all those guys. He's played with some fantastic people. So he's you can see why people go to him. Why those guys get the work, because it's a good example. Like I said to you just now, they came in and they nailed it. And if you want to get work and you want to be that sort of like a guy who someone hires to get in to do an album, you know what I mean? That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
But no, it's fantastic. It was, and like you said, going back to what you said about the drum room there, that was in my mind, when I was a kid growing up, when I was really young. We spoke about this before, I think, but like Night at the Opera, Sheer Heart Attack were 2 albums that were just like massively important in my, listening as a kid, and informing me about music, I mean, all that. So and Roger Taylor's drum sound is just huge. When he does the tom rolls, they're huge. It's just massive, and I've always loved that, and that's what Wynn managed to do on some of these tracks. The toms are huge, and that's what I wanted, really. I wanted them to sort of come out of the speakers, when he does a roll. And, but when he turned up, when we all turned up, everyone was kind of excited to be there. You know, there was a definite vibe and an energy because it was Rockfield, just because of the name of the place. You know, I don't think either of those guys have been there before. But that helped because everyone's in these rooms that, you know, great mics, you know, great sounding rooms. Everyone wants to do their best to capture something in there, you know. So that, I think, it was a good idea for that reason to get the place, you know, just to get everyone's kind of like energy sort of flowing.
Yeah. So how long were you at Rockfield itself?
It was only a couple of days. We just did a lot in a couple. We were just in and out, you know. Like I knew this stuff, you know, because it was obviously it was my stuff, you know. So I kind of knew it. It was a risk sending those guys because I just sent them the demos, which were full demos. They had like sort of programmed drums and sort of, you know, so the songs were complete with sort of like all the rhythm guitar solos, vocals, everything on. But when you've not got any rehearsal time, it's a risk because you're going into Rockfield, you've hired that, you're spending that money on that place, and then you're not rehearsing. And it was just like, I hope this is going to work, you know. and it, you know, it could have been easier. Honestly, it was a joy, you know. Like I said, I went down to Brighton to do the album before this, and I wasn't. The results weren't the same, you know. That it wasn't as good, it wasn't as solid, you know. So then I'd had that experience, and then sort of going from that experience to this was the complete opposite. You know what I mean? I've gone from one sort of, which is a bit of a train wreck to.
So obviously, oh, excuse me. Like I was saying, what I really loved about Waiting for Your Love, it's got that raw sound, which is why I asked if, you know, it was you guys in the studio just laying it down, as it were. And it's definitely got, which I think always, if you've got that foundation, like, yeah, sometimes you're going to have to do overdubs, like you say, because you're playing both guitar parts in this case. And, you know, you can't play two guitars at once, for God's sake. But I'm just really excited. I
think that solo may have been the solo that actually went on that track, may have been from the demo. You know, I think a couple of solos that I was so pleased with the solo on the demo that I might have lifted. I can't remember whether that was one of those, but there was a couple because, you know, when I'm putting a solo down, generally, I'll just record and try and sort of I'll improv on it and try and get some energy into it more than, you know, I work out roughly, I know roughly where I'm going to go, you know, sort of like the start here and it got there, but I kind of leave it a little bit free. And then sometimes you capture something in a solo that you can't then replicate. So it's really hard to, because it's a little bit fake. If you start trying to, it loses any magic it's got when you try and recreate it, you know, exactly the same way, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I think Waiting for Your Love may have been like an original solo on that one. That was sort of like, you know, because we obviously kept the same tempo, so the BPM was the same on the track. So
the album's out August 6th. Are you releasing any more singles ahead of that, or is this the teaser for the remainder of the album, as it were?
No, there'll be more singles. Yeah. There'll definitely be one sort of like maybe July, and then one maybe when the album comes out itself. So there'll be 3 singles, I think. Cool. That's the plan at the minute.
Yeah. Who designed the album artwork, by the way? I love the sort of comic book effect that you've got on that, man. I thought it was wicked when I saw that.
Yeah, well, no, I ended up doing all that. I'd hired a guy from Brazil I'd found on Instagram who did a similar sort of thing with the sort of like the comic book effect with the sort of like the print dots and all that stuff. And I've been kind of working with you know, I've always been a sort of like a massive sort of comic book fan, and you know, over the years since I was a kid, I've sort of always drawn stuff, you know, but it's always been intermittent, you know what I mean? And I found that I ended up sort of getting into sort of like stuff recently, you know, maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, and I started creating a little piece, and I was sort of like chuffed with it, and because I, like I said, I've messed around with this sort of stuff before, and I thought, you know, I was pleased with it, but I wasn't sure, you know, it's one of those things, and I liked it, but so I stuck it up on social media, sort of hesitantly, thinking, Jesus, you know, I could get sort of like you're never sure what people are going to think about stuff, you know. So I stuck it up, and the response was really crazy. It was like, you know, it was really positive, and you know, sort of like random people, like one of Frank Zappa's guitar players called Denny Wally, who he's one of my heroes, like he's a slide player. He played on Joe's Garage and all that. He was messaging saying how much he liked it, and Michael Messer and all these other people, you know, So I was like, Jesus, you know, maybe I should. It started making me think maybe I should be using this for the artwork, you know, instead of hiring this guy. And then I did one for Bumblefoot, and he put it on his because then I sort of made that as a print. I thought, okay, well, I'll put that up on the website as a print.
Yeah.
And I did one for Bumblefoot, and he put it up on his website. And then Joe Satriani and Richie Coates were liking it, and I was like, no. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to go down this route, man. If my hero, like Joe Satriani, when I was, especially when I was a kid, like surfing with Alien when I was 15 or 16 or whatever, you know, it was that was a big deal to me, you know, especially because I was always into comic art and I always wanted to do it. And then these are my sort of like musical heroes, sort of like digging this stuff. So I thought, right, do one for each of the band members and sort of have that as a sort of like, you know, a panel. And then I sent it to my guy Sam Hales from Ghost Prod, who does all sort of the artwork, and then he kind of like arranged it, and we did it for a gatefold. You know, we sort of
oh, cool.
So that was really cool. So yeah, so the panels, sort of, you know, the back, and I've got the CDs already. The vinyl's not here, but the back panel.
Oh man, that looks wicked. That's awesome.
So you've got this. You know, I just can't wait to see the vinyl because the large scale. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it's gatefold, so it's got the artwork inside, because that was always the thing when I was a kid. You know, I had gatefold vinyl, and I always loved the gatefold, you know, because you had that sort of the artwork in the middle and all that.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do. I didn't go with the coloured vinyl, but I know it's really popular. But I spoke to like 3 or 4 manufacturers, and they said, right, I figured, like, I've recorded at Rockfield, I've got it mastered at Abbey Road. So
yeah, you did go all out on the studio front.
yeah. So the sort of sound quality is what I've been after. You know, I've been trying to get a great sounding piece of music. You know, and they said if you go down the coloured vinyl route, the audio quality drops. And they said if you go down the picture disc route, then the audio drops again. You know, so they said if you want good quality audio, the best quality is 140 black vinyl. If that's what you're after, if you're after audio quality. And I thought about it, and I was like so tempted to go down like a blue. You know, I was going to maybe go with blue because it would match that. And it's difficult because some people, when they buy vinyl, just want it as an object. They don't necessarily want to play it. They just want
the
vinyl. You know what I mean? They just want it. Yeah. So I get that, but I also couldn't bring myself to kind of drop the audio quality. I thought, I can't do that. You know, it's all been about getting it sounding good, and then and I got these test prints. They ended up sending me sort of 9 test prints over before they print them, and I took them to a friend of mine who lives sort of like about 6 or 7 miles away up in a place called Kingston, and a guy called Dougie Clark, and he's got like a 25 grand sound system, and it, like, just his like deck was just ridiculous. He described it to me and went into detail, and I can't remember all the details because I'm not a hi-fi buff. But he put the album on, and I tell you, I had more detail in the vinyl through that system than I'd heard on my studio monitors or anything else. You know, it was ridiculous. In the top end, in the reverbs, you know, like on like a vocal reverb.
Yeah.
You know, reverb sets something in space in a space, and there's like peripheral sort of like spaces with the reverb. And on the vinyl, I could hear them clearly. Where you know, when I heard them on CD, I couldn't, which was mental because I thought I couldn't see how, you know, vinyl could capture that much detail, but it obviously can. And if you've got a good sound system, I suppose, you know, he's got a bloody good sound system, but it's contained in there. You know, do you know what I mean? So if you've got the sound system to get it out, you know, it's I thought it'd be squished. I thought the top end might drop, or the bottom end might, you know, be squished into it.
It's impressive though that, you know, you were hearing things on that sound system that you didn't hear within like studio monitors.
Yeah. And my studio monitors, they're good Yamaha sort of like M60s, I think they are. You know, they're good. You know, they should get everything from them. But I said that to Win. You know, when I'd listened to that, I spoke to the producer and I said, I've just been over and listened to this on vinyl. It's mad. You know, it's how good the quality is. And he said, you know, his monitors are about 20 grand just to his monitors. You know what I mean? So if you've got I think it's a lot to do with the kit. You've got some really good kit. You're going to hear it. You know, my monitors weren't anything like that. So, you know, but yeah, I'm just, you know, it was just great to know that the vinyl's kind of got it in there. You know, if you got the system, you got it. You know, if I'd have gone with the blue, it would have looked great, or like a different color, maybe. You know, but I couldn't bring myself to do it.
It's something though, like you say, when you've worked, and this isn't to say anything that, because I've recently, about 4 or 5 months ago, I finally got around to get myself a decent vinyl player, and I've sort of been buying my bits and pieces again. And so it's not to say any ones because I have got some coloured vinyls over there, bands I do like. But
they look great. The splatter vinyls, yeah, man, they're brilliant. You know, I get it. You know, but yeah.
But when you've like you say, you recorded at Rockfield, you had it mixed at Abbey Road, like two of probably the most iconic studios going. Certainly two of them.
Yeah.
And I can see why when you've invested that much, and you know, and you're a blues artist, Troy. You always play with your soul. You always invest with your heart. So you got that investment of going to Rockfield. And I can totally see why you wouldn't want any part of that quality that everyone, yourself and Dave and Darby and Phil and stuff has worked so hard for. You wouldn't want that to relinquish at all. You'd want that to shine as much as possible. Yeah,
and if they'd have said to me, you know, go with the color because it's no different, and I would have just gone with the color because you know, as a selling point, it looks great, you know, and all that, you know. But that's why I kind of went with the gatefold, because at least you've got the visual aspect of the gatefold instead of just, you know, instead of the vinyl being the visual kind of thing. But yeah, you know, I'm super chuffed with it. It's the first time I've had anything done on vinyl. You know, all my other stuff's been, you know, I've had CD or sort of download and that, so I'm sort of chuffed just to have, you know, to release it on vinyl.
Yeah, I bet. So was the vinyl always something on the cards that you wanted to do with this album in particular, or is it just an opportunity that came along?
Yeah, I wanted to do it. You know, I wasn't sure whether I was going to be able to do it. You know, but yeah, that was the plan. You know, and I was lucky that I got in fairly quick with it, because there's a massive sort of like hold up with vinyl at the minute. It's like a 6-month turnaround.
Yeah.
I managed to get one with a 4 month lead. I think they've been produced in France. I think the artwork's done here. They sent them to France and send them back. So I should get mine in July. So my release date's August. So you know, it's going to be good for that.
Oh, that's cool. Because I know there's been a lot of artists lately that I know who are going to release stuff on vinyl, and they've had that sort of delay from the album release through no fault of their own, just because, like you say, of everything that's going on at the moment. So no, that's cool.
They said that, you know, the company said that a lot of the factories on sort of like less staff because of COVID, and then there's, you know, so many people are, you know, because everyone's in lockdown, and people are producing more music, so they want to get it done on vinyl. So there's those two things that sort of come together and sort of, you know, knocked it part of it.
That's cool, man. So you sort of touched upon it briefly, but actually you mentioned Bumblefoot appears on the album. One of my favorite guitarists. I think man's a genius.
Oh yeah.
You did mention it before on the show, but for anybody who wasn't aware or just wants to hear the story again, how did Bumblefoot come to appear on your album? How did you guys meet?
It was we were both playing a festival over in Poland, and it's the same festival I met Darby at. You know, I'd heard of Darby and sort of knew his work, and I knew he taught Ollie Harding, who plays with the Shires, and James Oliver and a few people. I played with him as well. He's great, brilliant drummer. But I know he had lessons from Darby, so I kind of heard of him, and I saw Darby in Hot Leg, but you know, Justin Hawkins' other band. So yeah, we're kind of out in Poland. And
did Darby play in Hot Leg?
Darby did, yeah. Darby was.
So I have seen Darby play live then, because I saw Hot Leg supporting Alterbridge when they did that tour. So yeah, I do remember Darby. Yeah. Ah, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's telling me stories about that Alterbridge tour. It's quite funny, you know. So I think it's quite an interesting tour by the sound of it. But so I'd heard of him, and I knew him, and knew of him. Sorry, and the guy running this festival in Poland had been trying to get me out there for about 3 years, saying we'll do this, and finally it happened. He said, come out a day early, so you can hang out. You know, you can watch the bands. You know, and I think we were playing on the Sundays. Went over on the Saturday, and the Saturday night I was kind of out back hanging out, and I saw Darby, and we sort of clocked eyes, and we're all right, man, you know, and got chatting, and we chatted for about an hour, and you know, got on really well with the guy, and that's what he sort of said, you know, if you need a drummer, give me a shout, you know. So I met Darby there, and then the festival, Victor Shura runs this festival called the Sato Blues, and you know, it's really super well organized. You know, they get a guitarist magazine from Poland there, and it's like a press conference, and you know, it's the whole thing, you know. And I was sat next to Bumblefoot at the press conference, and he was just like, you know, just an absolutely sort of lovely guy. You know, just got chatting to him, and you know, just a great sense of humor, and you know, pretty self-deprecating, and just yeah, just a really, really cool guy. And so we spent some time, and And then later on that evening, we were sort of hanging out in the foyer. Anthony Gomes was playing. You know, he was kind of like doing his thing, and he was headlining there Saturday night. And I was chatting, and he said, "You coming for the jam?" And I said, "No idea. I don't know anything about a jam, so probably not. You know, I've not been invited to a jam." He said, "No, man, come on, come on, come on." So we went up the stairs up to backstage, you know, and Anthony's sort of like doing his thing, and this was like a full-on sold out, sort of like packed crowd, you know. So you know, he's just finishing his set, really. He's kind of like, you know,
Yeah.
And Bumblefoot side stage. So Bumblefoot, he gives Bumblefoot the nod to come on. So Bumblefoot goes out on stage. I think they did Knock on Heaven's Door because of I suppose the Guns N' Roses connection. You know, they play that song. And they both walk off stage. They finish. You know, Anthony's done that's his encore. He's you know, or his second encore maybe. So they come off stage and they sort of stood by me. So there's three of us stood there, and Bumblefoot says, "One more, man, one more." And Anthony is done. You know what I mean? He's like, you know, he's in his mind. I could see what was going on. He'd finished the set. He was done.
He's done.
But at the same time, he didn't want to kind of say to Bumblefoot no, because he obviously massively respected Bumblefoot. You know what I mean? And you know, it's his Bumblefoot. He's just a, you know, if you're a guitar player, he's a legend. So you know, so he couldn't say no. So he said, "Yeah, all right, man, yeah." So as he says that, Bumblefoot hands me his guitar and sort of takes me out, and we go and sort of like. So he set it up for me, you know, and I went out and played his double neck, and which is a bit mental because you've got the fretted guitar on the top and you've got this fretless guitar underneath. Yeah. So, and I did it on purpose, you know. I went out and played with Anthony on the next song, and I wanted to see what that fretless was like. I'd never played one in my life, and you're in front of an audience, but I just thought I'd flick the toggle switch and try it, and it was great. You know? It was just the one weird thing is you obviously couldn't bend strings because there's no fret, so you have to kind of like, you know, go up, and the vibrato is kind of like that instead of pushing up, you know. So anyway, got on really, you know, obviously he was really nice and for doing stuff like that, you know, and just getting on with him. So on the way back, I decided to give him a message and just ask if he'd be up for putting a solo on the record. And I was saying to someone else, you know, these days with COVID, you know, collabs are sort of like really common, you know, but this is pre-COVID sort of days, and I wasn't expecting him to get back, and I wasn't sure whether he'd be up for it. And he said, "Yeah, man, you know, just send me the files and we'll do it." So there was a bit of a delay because I booked into Brighton Electric a month or two after that, and that was a session that didn't go as well.
All right.
And then in February we went over to Rockfield and you know, sent the files within a day. You know, he sent them back with this sort of absolutely blistering solo on it, you know, which is crazy. You know, so how good the solo. Yeah, just a really cool guy, and I've sort of chatted to him. I did a sort of like a Zoom interview with him just to sort of talk about the album and just have a chat.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I got that. So at some point I'll stick some of that up. You know,
that'd be cool to see.
Yeah, he's just such a nice guy. You know, because again, you know, he's a busy guy. You know, he's with all the different bands. He's with Asia, with Sons of Apollo. You know, he's doing his own stuff.
Yeah.
For him to sort of like, you know, to give his time really is that means a lot to me. You know, it's just like just a top guy. You know.
No, that's cool, man. I think I always sort of credited Bumblefoot with, for want of a better term, saving Guns N' Roses' Set It Down like 2006, because he was obviously in Guns at the time, and that was the first time I'd seen him play live. Yeah. And Axl, for want of a better term, had one of his moodies. Like there was war on the stage or something. And he was sort of doing the Axl Rose shuffle, and he kind of slipped a bit. Not massively, he didn't fall over or anything.
Yeah.
But just sort of lost his footing a little bit. And the gig wasn't going down very well, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, playing-wise, great. Yeah. Axl was on fire singing, the band was tight as anything. But there was just a bit of an attitude going on that I don't think went down too well with a British audience. But so he slipped. I say he didn't fall over, but rather than laugh it off or whatever, bang, down goes the microphone. He storms off stage, and the next thing you see is like the band's left the stage, and there's two people like mopping up the floor, and everybody's going, "Oh, come on, man!" Like if he just walked away from it, no one would to this day would ever mention anything about a little slip. You know, it wouldn't. It's not a story. It's not a story.
I remember once. Just insert this quick before we finish that. Yeah. I remember once Steve Vai go on. It was around the 2001 sort of era, and Eric Sardinas, the slide player, had been on first and had done a solo with a beer bottle, and he's playing slide with a beer bottle. And what he would do is shake the beer bottle up and let his thumb off, and the jet of beer would go up, you know, as he went up the neck. Steve I came on just after, and I just literally came running on and went straight over on his arse and got up. Sorry, but yeah.
But Steve Biden storm off.
No, he just
But yeah, and so the whole band goes off, and you can see, I can't remember who the drummer was, but the drummer was just playing. I remember the drummer just sort of going, "What am I doing? Am I leaving the stage as well? Like, what's going on?" And you could see everybody kind of huddled around the side of the stage, obviously trying to coax Axel to go, "No, come on, man, it'll be all right. Just come back on." And to be fair, he did come out, and I'll be honest, after that, it was even better. Like after that this sort of veil got dropped, and after that, I mean, the second half of the set, I mean, even Axel said, like, during the set afterwards, like, this is probably half an hour in, and even Axel said afterwards, like halfway through the second set, like, "Oh man, I'm actually having quite a good time now. I couldn't have said that like an hour ago." And while they were sort of obviously to try and keep the crowd there, not annoyed and sort of entertained, Bumblefoot came back onto the stage, and he took some heat, man, because everybody's like pissed off, thinking, you know, what on earth's going on? And then Bumblefoot walked out on the stage, and because poor guy's the first one on, he starts getting a bit of heat from the crowd. Then he just started playing, and then within about 30 seconds of his playing, everybody was just like, calm down, everyone had chilled out. There was no impending riots because everybody was just watching Bumblefoot, and he's
a one man show. Like when he played in Poland, he was playing by himself. He does like a lot of stuff like just by himself, and he's such a solid. He can play. The guy can play anything. You know, I remember when I did this interview with him, interview sort of chat thing. We were just talking about guitars, and I said about sort of Alan Holdsworth. You know, he's one of my favourite players. You know, and I mentioned Road Games, and straight away he was chatting. He said, "Oh, you know that lick from Road Games? That's what Eddie Van Halen sort of nicked for." Hot for Teacher, when there's a stop in Hot for Teacher, and then there's this like real fast run, and then he was saying that's from Alan Holdsworth, because Eddie Van Halen was a big Holdsworth fan, but he just kind of knew that lick. You know, he's one of these guys that I think he's got one of those memories that he could just memorize anything. So he just, as well as being a great player, he's just a memory man.
Well, I remember he did, like, as part of the solo, he did like an instrumental version of Christina Aguilera's "Beautiful."
Right.
And it was amazing because basically you had, like, you know, it's downloads, so you got 60, 80,000 rock fans all sort of stood there going, "I know this, but I don't know where I know this from." And then you could just see us all sort of realize, "Oh, this is Christina Aguilera." Sounds kind of good though.
Yeah, he's got a sense. That's his sense of humor, and that he's just got he just dropped things like that. You know, I can imagine that's like, you know, just sort of.
That's brilliant. Like, you could just see as everybody kind of dawned on everyone around me, like, "Yeah, we're rocking out to Christina Aguilera. Never mind. Sounds good. Who cares?" Good to have a sense of humor about it. It's like when a few years later, when Faith No More headlines, and there was a big Faith No More fan, and when I go watch Faith No More play, and they did a cover of Lady Gaga's Poker Face, and it was just like, this is exactly what Faith No More do. And what made us laugh there was a lad near us, and he was only probably a few years younger than us. So I missed Faith No More first time around. You know, I heard records from my dad, but I never got to see them. So when they reformed in 2009, I was sort of over the moon that I was finally going to get to see him. Yeah. And this guy was probably only a few years younger than me. I was sort of 21. He was probably about 17, 18 maybe. And he was doing that thing of trying to be too much of a Faith No More fan, if you know what I mean. Like, this is my favourite song, no, this is my favourite. And you're like, mate, just enjoy it. It's fine. It's not a competition. Just chill the hell out. And he then started really sort of excitably started singing this song because he knew the lyrics to it, even though he didn't realize it was Lady Gaga at the time, which was hilarious. Because about 30 seconds into him singing, he realized he was singing a Lady Gaga song, which he deemed to be not rock and roll attitude enough. And then he started getting the grump about it. It was really funny. He sort of starts there, and everyone's singing along and enjoying, like you say, that sense of humor side of it, and just having fun. Like, oh yeah, this is hilarious. You know, Faith No More's covering Lady Gaga. What's going on? Yeah. And everybody's just sitting there and having a laugh, but he was just, and he joined in, and then immediately kind of went, "Oh no, it's Lady Gaga," and started crossing his arms and looked annoyed. And it was like, "You were enjoying that 30 seconds ago, mate. It's fine. No one's judging you. It's fine."
Yeah. No, it's cool, all that sort of stuff, you know, and especially Mike Patton, like, he didn't take himself seriously at all, does he? Like, you know, he purposely sort of do stuff to kind of, you know, wind people up or kind of. Did you ever see that band? Was it called Phantomus?
Phantomus,
Was that with Terry Bozzio from Zappa's band?
Yeah,
that
it was. Yeah,
some of that was amazing. That was, because it went from really sort
sort of screaming,
blasting.
like almost blast beats and almost black metal in places.
And then it would go to like a cartoon sort of soundtrack, like a literally like sampler, didn't it, with like Bugs Bunny sort of like stuff going on.
It was really so bizarre, man. But when we saw both of them, well, it wasn't in 2009. It was a couple of years later when we were about 2015. I think they headlined again. And he was trying to get people. He was being Mike Patton, and he's trying to get everybody going. And there was one security guard who's just looking, just being didn't want to look like he's trying to have any fun at all. Yeah. He was just stood there really stern. And Mike Patton's like in his face trying to share the mic. I'm like, come on, man, I'm trying to get this thing. And he's got his headpiece on, like this sort of security headpiece thing. And he starts going, can I have this? And he was just trying to get some sort of reaction. This guy, it was a bit like, like the sort of Queen's Guards, and he's doing this. He's just trying to get some form. This guy would not budge. Fair play to him. He was, and Mike Patton ends up like taking his headset off him. He's got it on, and he's like, come on, and and he ends up climbing on his shoulders, trying to get a thing of him. And he's just like, all right, you're no fun, and then just gives it back to them and walked off. But that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Yeah, not as good as the one security guard I saw at a show once who did really go for it. It was at Sonosphere Festival, and we went to go watch this guy. I don't know if you've heard him, called Richard Cheese.
No.
He does he'll do it's a complete novelty act, but it was fun. He done all sort of swing and soul and sort of Sinatra big band-esque versions of like rock and heavy metal.
Yes, I do know. Yeah, I do know the guy then. Yeah.
And so he was playing, and no one else was on. So we kind of all went, "Oh, let's go watch him and have a laugh." And so we did. And he was trying to get where you get all the security guys down the front. He was trying to get all the security guys to sort of be like can girls and like sort of kicking their legs. And all the other security guards are like this, like, no, not doing that, not that at all. And there was just one security guard in the middle going, come on, let's have some fun. He could just just on his own. It was like, at least he's having a laugh. So going back to your album then, when you go out on the road, are you hoping that Dave and Darby will join you, or is that the plan? Like if scheduled?
Yeah, for some dates, yeah. I'll be doing some dates by myself with Winning the Bandits. I'll be going out just on my own.
Yeah, the rescheduled dates, aren't they?
Yeah. So I'll be going. That'll be a different sort of take on the set. But when I do my set, after that'll be sort of like after I've done the Winning the Bandits. Yeah, I want to get them to come out for at least 5 or 6 good dates. One down in London, sort of like I don't know, Manchester way, and then one up north. It'd be nice to get them out for that.
Yeah.
But it's down to budget, because those guys, sort of like they're not band members. Do you know what I mean? Even though they're on the album, if I want to get them, I got to hire them, and it's that's not cheap. So I'd have to sort of design that properly to kind of cherry pick the best places around the country to do that, where I'm going to get the most people going in. So yeah, one London, one in say maybe Cardiff, but I'd love to do it, because that'd be the way. And I'd also love to probably take out another guitar player, to flatten the sound out, because I think the album doesn't say, you could do it as a 3-piece, you could do it acoustically, you could do them anyway, but I'd like to take it and have it sort of big, and I think to fill that sound out, I need another guitar player really. Yeah, just doing some rhythm, some rhythm parts on it. No, but they're up for it. They've said they're really sort of behind it. Darby released an album recently, and it's sort of more sort of like progressive instrumental stuff. But amazing. He's got such great sort of players. He's got the guy from Sugar in there, and he's got Bumblefoot on his album, and I can't think of all the guys. There's so many on there, but check out Darby's. It's just go on darbytodd.com if anyone's interested. But you'll be absolutely blown away by the quality of that album. But he said to me, again, I sort of did a Zoom interview with him, and I've sort of got to chop it all up. But he said he was invested in my album as he is his own, because he's sort of like he's really behind it.
That's cool.
And he said if you want to sort of do some gigs with it, But the thing is, with Darby, he plays with Martin Barr from Jethro Tull, and he's getting to get work with, say, Devin. I know that there's only a few dates at the minute, but he's got a busy schedule. You know what I mean? So it's going to be, as well as anything else, he'll be tying it in, into his schedule.
So
I'd love to.
Yeah. Other than the dates with Willie and the Bandits, have you got anything else lined up on the lines of shows coming now that hopefully the live scene is finally returning?
There's something coming up in September, but I can't say because it's not been released yet.
Fair enough.
But yeah, this something sort of in the works. So all in all, considering again, like, let's fingers crossed, like this year stays like the way it's meant to be go, because see all the stuff about the Indian variant, and just hopefully that doesn't throw a massive spanner in the works, because but if that doesn't happen, if everything's cool, it'd be cool to get some dates this year. We've got a few festivals. I'm going out with Mike for the RHR, with RHR, the Love Rocks Festival.
Oh, that's a great show.
Yeah, we're playing there. It's cool because they're giving us, there's 2 stages. They've given us, I've got 3 sets on the second stage. Mike's got 2 sets on the second stage. So we're pretty much, there's only us 2 on the second stage, for that.
Yeah.
And then we've got an RHR on the main stage. So it's going to be busy. So it's like a lot of work on that Friday. I'm really looking forward to it. But I've started going running. I started doing some weights and stuff because I need to get in shape for it. But when I did the video with Darby and Dave for Waiting for Your Love, after about 4 runs through, I was knackered. You know what I mean? And I thought I need to do it a couple of hours sort of like sets. So I need to get in shape. So it's been hard. I tell you, get back out there. It's been about a year since I've done anything like that. And Jesus.
I was the same, man. I would like to say, obviously, like, gym's just reopening again. I just started going back last couple of weeks, and thinking I could do what I did when I was last in there, and being all right at the time, and then the following day being like, that was a mistake.
Yeah. Well, I ended up sort of like this last 4 weeks, I've been on the keto diet, and so I'm having no carbs.
All right.
And then running, I've never done that before, running on no carbs. And I tell you what, man, it's like you're on empty when you start. So I was just like, Jesus. But it's all good. I've got a few weeks. I've got 3 weeks to get in shape. So I think by the end of that, it's gonna, I'll be ready to go. And it's one of those things when you're sort of doing sets, and regardless if I've done it or not, adrenaline is so strong that you just get to it. You just be knackered after, but you get to it.
Yeah, adrenaline powers you through, mate.
Yeah.
So
you got no choice of you when you're at a gig like that. You got no choice. It's just you got to do it.
You got to do it, definitely.
Yeah.
So other than that, are there any plans? Well, the plans for the remainder of the year, like we were saying, it's been a bit of a rubbish year to try and make plans.
Well, if this thing sort of this thing sort of coming up September, there's that. Obviously there'll be sort of like the punctuations of the singles and stuff like that. So getting a video for the second one, and my focus, like last year, I did sort of I released a lot of stuff. I was just knocking stuff out sort of every couple of months. And this is kind of going to almost be the opposite. I really need to focus on just this, and it kind of I keep sort of like going to record new stuff and starting to go off on that tangent of kind of like, you need to do something else. And I need to stop myself doing that, really. It's all right to notebook ideas on the phone or something, but I just need to dedicate everything to getting this promoted properly, and just getting out there, and so yeah, I think there's a festival at Newcastle at the Cluny with RHR. I can't remember the dates offhand, but we've got that one. There's one at Castle Donington, but obviously not the old, it's not it's not really Donington. We've got that festival. So there's a few things throughout the year. Do you know what I mean? Sort of spaced out, and then it's going to be, I suppose, it's 2022 when when hopefully sort of like gigging will be proper. Willie and the Bandits tour, I looked at that, and that's a couple of months. That's
a big old tour, that is, man.
yeah. So that's going to be good though, because I got halfway through the tour the last time I got stopped. So some of the venues we played that we were going back to, like the Liverpool Philharmonic, which is an amazing one,
Oh.
And that's going to be interesting because I'll be going out on my, I always go out with a band, so going out by myself, it's going to be completely different. Walking out to that stage, it'd be, a different experience than going out with a band. But, after 2 months of it, I'll be bulletproof as a solo act. So.
Definitely, man. Especially, man, to play a venue like that on your own, that's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be different. It's going to be different, man. But it's not the first gig of the tour, so I got plenty of that's months away. So the set's only about usually half an hour for an opening set. So it's quite cool in the way that you can really sort of choose a tight little set. You know what I mean? Of stuff that's really strong. You know what I mean? So instead of having like an hour and a half, where you got to sort of like fill out with all sorts of stuff. You can have like just like concise set. And I go out with probably with a kick or like one of those sort of like stomp things. So it'll be a bit. There's different ways of thinking of approaching it. But it will definitely be with a resonator and it'll be amped up. So it'll be sort of dirty sort of resonator sort of thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be. I like doing stuff like that. Stuff I've done the solo sets before in the past. So I'm confident with it. But it's just it'd be nice to do it like a lot of that, like a run of it.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So obviously at the end of the interview, we are going to play the new single, mate. We are going to play. We're going to play "Waiting for Your Love." At the beginning of the interview, what do you want us to play?
Do you want to play? Have you got Thunder Moon? Have you got that album?
I have, yeah. You sent it to me before. Yeah, I've got Thunder.
Yeah. Well, someone off that play something that's completely different. So other end of the spectrum, this maybe just a tune off that.
Okay, man. I'll have a think on that one. But yeah, definitely off something Thunder Moon. Show people the other side of your colour.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Nice. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Troy, man. Thanks.
Yeah, great to speak, man.
Oh, man. Cheers, dude.
See you soon.